I recently came across some photos that used to be in my portfolio. You know what a portfolio is? It's what we used to take before we had all the digital photos. Big pictures of your before and afters. As an interior designer, it's kind of an important thing to take to that first meeting. You know what I used to hear a lot? I used to hear, is that the same room? Let me see that again. That is like music to my ears. Every one of these photos that you're going to see today incorporates the tried and true design principles that I've used in my practice for the last 30 years, I've used in my home, and I use every single day in the design sessions. There'll be a link in the description box below. Be sure to check it out. If you really want to make a difference in your home, it's the design sessions that will do that for you. These are projects I've done over my 30-year career as a professional interior designer, and these are the ones that I call the most outrageous. Are you ready? A lot of this will be something you've never seen before. Let's get started. Today is what? Today's Friday, and we are so close to this install. So let's go in and take a look, okay? When I walked into this client's home, I walked into the living room, and you know what? It was interesting. It was 2 stories high, and each floor was 10 feet. So it was a good 21, 22 foot tall ceiling. That's high. But the room itself was only 16 feet by 16 feet. That's what I call a tall drink of water. Super tall, super small. And they had done all these upgrades. They had this paneling in mahogany that went all the way up to the ceiling. And then they had an archway here into a library. And then it was cute. They tried to create symmetry. What they missed was this is dark, high contrast, and this is just open. It didn't quite fit the bill. I asked the clients, how about if we drop a ceiling into this room and make 2 rooms out of it? You've got this beautiful staircase that goes up there. There's a Juliet balcony. We could open it up and it could be a library or an exercise room, anything that you guys think you need. The husband said to me, Rebecca, I like it when I walk in this room because I feel like it's grand. And I was like, interesting, because I get a completely different feeling from it. I kind of want to itch myself. So I said, let me come up, let me think about this. I'll take photos. These are some of the photos I took. I couldn't even get one photo that could show from the floor all the way to the ceiling in one photo, even in a vertical. This is actually 2 photos taped together so you can get the full look. And what I came up with was I said, how about if we still access the Juliet balcony, instead of putting a floor all the way in, we'll create a catwalk that goes around the room. And then you can access it from upstairs, and in those walls, we will recess a library. We'll put like a, like it looks like a railing, and you can go up there and pick out a book or something. They said, okay, let's see. So we did a drawing, and they decided to go with my idea. I turned it into a gorgeous, high-end luxury living room with the fireplace still. We went with walnut, lightly stained walnut wood through this project. And you can see here the catwalk underneath, recessed panel molding underneath. So it was gorgeous from the underside. But you see what happened? We were able to create this completely open space in the middle. So the husband got what he wanted. And I got what I wanted, which was to create a more intimate, luxury living room space so it didn't feel so awkward. Proportion is very important. You see that I took out the archway here. I took out the archway here and put in a rectangular door with gorgeous filigree and bronze actual metalwork in it. Up here, the staircase, the railing itself, it's actually attached to the outside of the molding here rather than on top. Usually you have a platform and your railing goes in the floor. This was actually attached on the outside so that it gave a little bit more walking space. If I'm not mistaken, I think we made that catwalk 36 inches. And when you only got a 16-foot wide room, you take out 6 feet, there's only 10 feet left here in the center. But I dropped this gorgeous chandelier in the center and put in a custom, it was actually a commissioned oil painting. So with changing up the accessories, the artwork and everything else, this turned into a very luxurious living room. The clients were happy, and so was I. On the other side of the living room of this project, I think I told you there was the opening. Remember the arched opening that takes you into a library? Now, we have a library upstairs now too, but this was more like a home office kind of library. So this is what it looked like. First off, this furniture is just atrocious. I'm sorry. Even 22 years ago, this was pretty bad. It was leather. I'm sure it was expensive, but it was just very contemporary in shape, but not. And then they have this super contemporary pharmacy floor lamp here. So these two styles, like I say, often pick a lane. Here was their built-ins. Now again, it's a 10-foot, this one actually was dropped. It was a 10-foot ceiling, but 2 feet above this built-in here was 24 inches of drywall soffit across the top. So it didn't go to the ceiling, it went to the top of the soffit. And then it's like, like repetitive arches, like how many arches can one person have? And then this is a perfect example of too much stuff. So they let me again do my thing, and what I designed was a much more luxurious looking library effect. Even the door, look at the door hardware, that's just like delicious. This is actually a 10-foot tall, we took the soffit out, library. And this has, right here, you can barely see it, but there's a brass rod that goes across here. It's a library lamp. So it's a rolling lamp that goes on the bookcase. But in the center, I put in a place for a gorgeous commissioned oil painting that went here. That one thing that the old bookcase didn't have, it had glass shelves and one light in the top. That lit the top and nothing else got lit. In here, every single shelf, every single one is lit, and it's very well appointed accessories, memorabilia, and books. Yes, this project was done 22 years ago, and I'm still proud of it. This is in the same home as the living room I just showed you. It is the entryway. And there were aspects about this I really liked and some that I didn't. I didn't like this very repetitive ironwork, but what I did like here was this rounded drywall. This was sort of swooped around, and then this came rounding around as well. But there are stairs that you see along the side. So the staircase had a skirting that swooped around with it, but then you saw the stairs, each individual from the side. And I decided I wanted to play off of this amazing architectural aspect of it being rounded in the drywall and having sort of a smooth surface. I had them take the molding off the top here and actually build this to be a wall so that no longer would you see the stairs, the wall would create a soft, smooth down around drywall effect, and the stairs would run into it on the inside, so you no longer see the stairs from the side. I thought it would look more luxurious. And right here, this is a cutout. Now on either side of the entry to the living room, there were these like boxy cutouts that had just a wood shelf on it. And so I said, I think we could do better. This is where we ended. Do you see what I'm talking about here? How this now plays into that swooping skirting effect? We used solid travertine slabs, not tile. I remember it taking 11 slabs of travertine in order to do this staircase all the way up and all the way over here to access that catwalk. Now you can also see this is all very, very custom designed. I actually hand drew all of this railing here. And then these rails here coincide beautifully with the railing that was used here. Same exact style of railing with the sleek lines and the ball at the bottom and or top. Now you can see over here we did wainscot on the bottom. Now we cased it and did it in wood, and we were able to then add a beautiful sculptural glass piece, which is art. And then one other thing is I added wainscot all the way wrapping around that staircase and on up into this area. And then there's another casement just like this that now leads to that beautiful Juliet balcony. What do you do if you have a guest bedroom downstairs that you don't use because you got like 5 bedrooms and there's 3 guest bedrooms upstairs? So this guest bedroom downstairs, the homeowner decided she'd like to have her own home office. And this was the built-in that was in the room. And then on the other side of the room, here's a window here, and then there was a window here, right here, you see? So this right here was a door into the bedroom, and it was kind of a wasted hallway. It was a hallway with a door to this and to the laundry room. I said, can we just get rid of that wall and the door and you can enter through the other area, making this room larger? Let's take up some of that door space. And so they let me do that. The other thing I did is, you'll notice here, this is a single width window and this is a double width. Don't you think that's weird? I took out that hallway, made the room a little bigger, and did custom built-ins. And this is what they ended up with. Here is where the door was before, and this is now the hallway, using it for our space. And the thing, you come down here now, powder room is right straight ahead, and you just enter right here. There's no door, it's open. But you can see a custom, beautiful partner's desk where you can go from both sides. Incredible walnut cabinetry and built-ins. The ceiling had grass cloth wallpaper that was attached to the ceiling with this beautiful coffered, division pieces. And then the hallway of what was the ceiling in that area, I actually designed these custom pendant drum shades that would play off of this really well, and had those going down, and then I wood paneled the ceiling just in that area, while this part here is coffered. Completely different, but they connect with each other. Here's a completely random project. I don't think anybody in my team has ever even seen this before, but when I came across this photo, and the reason I came across, I'll tell you, I am writing a course right now, and I can hardly wait to share it with you guys, but in doing so, I needed to go back through all these different seasons of my life, and in going back in the seasons of my life, I also went back in the seasons of my career, and I came across these things, and I expected to be like, oh, that's so dated, it's so embarrassing. I don't think so. I think that good design is good design. It's why the design principles work, because they are consistent. Now, trends, come and go. For a long time, everything was white. And so I suppose all this walnut stuff would have been out of style, but it's coming back in again. Thank God. All right, you know what this is? It is the foyer to my church 23 years ago. 23 years ago, I went to a church, and the church building wasn't a traditional building. It was an office building that they remodeled and made into a church. So the foyer had probably, I'd say, maybe 9-foot ceilings. But once you walked into this door or this door, you walked into what would be a sanctuary, and it was like 20-foot tall ceilings, much larger space for everyone. But this was your first impression. I don't know. I don't know what drew me there. You know what? My husband worked there. So they asked me if they knew I was an interior designer, would I design the new church? They were going to remodel it. And I said, sure. So the first thing I did was I got rid of this dropped ceiling with all this fluorescent lighting. I said, let's get rid of that. Let's make the entry as high as what the sanctuary is in there. And let's make this more appealing. So would you like to see how it turned out? That is what the new entryway to my church looked like. There are some things that I want to point out. You can see here, this is where the ceiling was before. Now, with exposing it, we had all kinds of cool rafters and air conditioning ducts and everything. I had them painted all black. I angled the door entryway so it wasn't this flat thing, gave us much more, but see, this used to come across this way. And I went like this and made it much bigger, added sconces, tall. These are like 72-inch, 6-foot tall sconces on either side. And then I had different pop-outs, bump-outs to give it more depth and dimension. I think one of the things I'm most proud of is the carpeting. I actually drew on a piece of paper this design, creating this like X shape, and picked out all these different kinds of carpet and had them inlaid to create a beautiful Northax, is what they call it. Over here, there's a water feature that lights up. And above it, I put in Bible verses that, let's see, I don't have my glasses on. You want me to read them to you? Okay, this one, all hand painted, says, "For the scriptures declare that rivers of living water shall flow from the inmost being of anyone who believes in me." Isn't that so cool? So you come into this water feature, there's a bench here, some fresh plants, and then this one said, up here I wrote, Jesus said, and then it is, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." And that was the way you entered into the sanctuary. So I was hired to come to someone's house in our neighborhood, and they had 4 children, and it was a pretty small house. It was probably like 2,100 square feet. This room, they ended up putting like a curio cabinet for, they're from Sweden. So they had a lot of things from their home country that they brought to America and wanted to use, and things from the family. They had a piano here, and that was important to them. But the fireplace, look, there's no place for furniture in here. This room was used for nothing. Look, the chair is sitting in front of the fireplace, in fact, sitting on the hearth. So let me give it to you. All right, you walk in, straight ahead. On the left is the living room, wall with a fireplace, family room. On the right is a staircase, dining room, wall, and kitchen. So kitchen and family room are across from each other. Living room and dining room are across from each other. There's a catwalk, meaning when you get to the top of the stairs, you walk across a hallway that's sort of a breezeway that's open. And you could see down that direction to the lower floor. You could see down this direction to the lower floor. And that's what takes you to mom and dad's room, okay? So here's why I think this is worthy. It's nowhere near the cost of one of the projects I showed you earlier, but it is such an interesting use of space. This was probably a lower budget than most of the projects I had at this time. And I think this is probably like 17 or 18 years ago. But what I did with the space, because they didn't want to move, so I used every inch of that house. There are so many amazing space-saving tips just in this one project alone. So here's what I did. 3 of the boys were in one room and a daughter had her own room. Oh, it's good to be a girl in this case. What I did was I said, this open catwalk, why don't we close in the ceilings? Give you 9-foot ceilings. They're still high. They're still going to look nice. But if we close that in like this, and then let's get rid of this wall here that the fireplace is on, and instead of having a little tiny family room and a little tiny living room, we'll have one room that has everything in it, okay? We can make it a great room. And upstairs, we'll add a kid's bedroom over the dining room, because we're closing that in, and over the living room and the family room, we'll add a custom office. We took this out, we closed in the ceiling. Now what I want to show you is, do you see this right here, this wall? These 2 windows remained, but these windows here went because of where the ceiling would come. This is what that wall looked like afterwards. I bumped it out with the drywall and then recessed. This is a built-in, but it's all drywall built-in. You see, there's ways to do built-ins that are not always wood. Drywall with lights in it, and these were to house their special Swedish memories. We could get rid of that extra piece of furniture here that was bulky and in the way, and this looked beautiful. But let's take a look at what the space looked like. I wish I had a picture of the family room before, but this is how that turned out. This is the second, this is this window here, right here, okay? So that bump out's right here. But then it gives you symmetry here. I took their existing, this is what their television was on. I would love to have replaced this. They didn't want to, they wanted to, we had to save money somewhere. So we used that, but then I did artwork over it, a pair of sconces. Do you see the symmetry? Do you see that even 17, 18, 20, 22, 23 years ago, I was still using the same design principles that I teach you guys on the design sessions now. This is a coffee table with 4 ottomans that pull out. Each child, 4 kids, each kid gets their own ottoman. They can put their own slippers in it or comfy, blanket when they're watching television. There's 2 chairs over here for Dad. Dad has his comfy leather chair and an ottoman, and then there's another occasional chair here. We added window treatments, but look, this wall before was right here. So that was their family room before, and now this is what they have, a completely open space. I promised you that these transformations would be old, right? They're from a long time ago, way early in my career, way before YouTube, and but that they would be things that you would look at and say, is that the same room? Because I can tell you, this one here, I wouldn't think that's the same room, would you? I don't think so. So let's take a look at another one. This is in Pacific Beach, right on the water, on the bay. It had French doors here, and then there was a large window here, and then this random little narrow window because the wall turned. Here was the weird thing about this place. The entire floor plan was shaped like a triangle. I know. So we were in this weird little corner here. I had to do all kinds of things in this house. All that to say, they had a TV here, and I was like, we want to keep the TV here, but I still need room for furniture. My idea was to create a built-in here that would come all the way down this wall that comes to greet you when you walk in. I got rid of this large window, and I installed one the same exact size as this one. So now I would have 2 skinny windows, and this would be drywall, and I would have window treatments on it here. And this is how that turned out. Look, the 2 windows, and then I had the windows done in what's called slump glass, because in this tropical ocean kind of vibe, slump glass is melted, and then it cools and dries together. So you don't need leaded glass to cut all these pieces and make it stick. It actually sticks to each other. So I had him do kind of this under the sea. Anyway, I loved it at the time. I still do. You see here? Look, here's the window treatments, and I created a wood casing to go over the top like a valance, and it's slightly arched, so it gave it some shape. Window treatments on either side, sofa here because they didn't use those French doors to go in and out. But here's the best part. Right here, you know what that is? A hydraulic lift, and the television goes and comes up right from there. But the best part is it goes back down and then looks like a pretty room rather than looking like that. Well, here's another one for you, and this is why that project was significant for me. This was actually the very first kitchen I ever designed. They had a window here and a sink, and again, this triangular, weird shaped thing, white cabinets that don't go to the ceiling. Even though these were very expensive condos, it certainly doesn't look like it. Typical granite, white refrigerator. I said, rather than have this be the sink location, how about we make this the cooktop? And let's make this a plate glass window so we don't have that division thing. So this is where we started, and this is what I designed and we had built. This is when these pendant lights first came in. Even the hood has glass on it because it's right at the window, and you want it to have a certain size to get the right sucking mechanism. Instead of making it out of stainless steel, they would add glass to the edge so it was even more see-through. I took the cabinets all the way to the top. Here's the other thing. The client had, and this happened to me all throughout my career, people had weird collections of things that I had to make work. So I tried, where can I put this and not look weird? So I actually designed this to have the upper cabinets. This is all the area that had nothing before, and they're all lit. This is where her collection of elephants went. So she could look around her kitchen and see them and enjoy them, but she didn't need to get up there and get to them, and it just helped decorate the space. So I think that you'd look at that and go, is that the same space? Yes, it is. This was a client who I had done the rest of their home, the other, the main spaces, and they called me back and said, We really want to renovate our bedroom, and we want to make a bigger bathroom. Our closet's way too small. We have a tub, we have a shower, they had a toilet room. And of course, this makes such a great before photo because who doesn't love this foil wallpaper? All right, can I see a show of hands? How many of you ever had this kind of foil wallpaper? I think so. Oh, and of course the cherubs sitting up here on the ledge. I swear, if my client sees this video, she's gonna die laughing because I'm sure she doesn't remember that she had a bathroom like this. So, and also carpet in your bathroom. So when you step out of your tub, you're stepping on carpet. That's always great. Kind of a mildew issue. Yeah. So what did I do? Well, in this case, you're gonna look at this and go, that's not the same space. Well, you're kind of right a little bit because we were actually able to push this back wall out. I think we gained 4 feet of space. That added a lot to this space, and then we just completely gutted it and started all over again. Would you like to see how it turned out? I think so. Bam. This is probably, I don't know, in the 20+ year area. This is his side. Everything had doors, glass doors on them. I mean, just building this thing was quite a feat. You know, you're only gonna go, if you got the whole height of the ceiling, you can't necessarily use it. So here's what I did. I stopped it, I believe at 8 feet. Do you know what this is? This is a curtain. It's a brown velvet curtain that is on the kind of curtain rod that is almost like what you use in a hospital, where it slides open really easily. And all of what's up here on this side and all this is all of their travel luggage, because they travel a lot. And you may say, how do you access that? Well, when you open this one, these are the luggage ones. When you open this one, you pull those curtains back. It's tall enough for you to step up here. When you step up to this platform, there is a 7-foot tall room. Right here, do you see that little pocket right there? That is what the rolling ladder slid into. You can't see this because it's straight on, but this is an oval mirror right here. And on either side, vessel sinks. This is the year the vessel sinks started coming out. But this oval mirror is like here. So you're sitting, you're at your vanity, washing your hands, washing your face. You got this beautiful oval mirror in front of you. And literally right on the other side is your spouse washing his hands, shaving, looking into the same mirror, just the other side of it. And you're together. I mean, I just think this is a pretty cool space. What do you think? It was a really fun project. So that is pretty much it for the photos that I came across that I thought would be of interest, and maybe you guys would want to see them. To me, it was really fun to go back and look at them. I mean, I could have done this in just a before, after, before, after, before, after, but I thought you might like some explanation behind the reasons I did things and what I did, and I hope it was helpful for you. I hope it's inspirational. I'd love to hear a comment from you and know what you thought of those photos. Do you like seeing the old projects? I mean, some of you have been with me for the entire, going on 16 years I've been on YouTube, and many of my projects have been on my channel. All the ones I showed you that were photographs, probably haven't seen those, so I'm glad I could share them. Just know that we have the design sessions. It is a resource library that you can access anytime and learn all the things, the principles that I talk about all the time. Link in the description box below. You can also sign up to be an early bird on our early bird wait list and hand us your email. There'll be a link for that too, so that we can alert you when our brand new course comes out, which will probably be close to fall this year. All right, just know that I love you, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you next time, next Saturday. See you next Saturday at 3 p.m. Central. Remember that. You know, I haven't said that much. I'll see you next Saturday at 3 p.m. Central. For now, I'll say goodbye. Bye. Oh my God. A lot of stuff is going on. Let me take you inside and show you. We're working hard to make it happen. Oscar, how's it going?
Good.
You got a lot of time left on this project?
Yes.
You're down to the wire, aren't you? Today's your last day.
Almost.
You better sand away there, buddy. It looks beautiful.